Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to create an extraordinary life? Well, today's show, we're going to teach you just that. Get ready, buckle up. We're going to wake up the inner giant. Ooh, it's going to be a good one today, Giants. I'm so excited. I'm Ryan Morris, co creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and 12 Journeys coaching, here with the man, the myth, the legend, Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls. There it is right there. There's the book. Boop. You can snag that on Amazon or giantsandsmalls.com as well. If you haven't joined a tribe of giants, you can do that on Facebook. It's a fantastic community. Amazing people that are there to support each other as we go through our Giants journey. And always on YouTube, you can hit the alert button so you know when we go live every single dang time. And what else we got going on, Mr. Nick, lately?
Yeah, we have a lot. So we have our master class that we just taught on My 12 Journeys. So you can access that through YouTube on the YouTube channel. Also, we have our My 12 Journeys community, which we're growing. So if you want to find out how to get free access, lifetime access to that community, DM me or drop a message here and we'll get you details so that you can do that. So we're still out there hustling, creating giants, one giant at a time. It's perfect.
Whoop, whoop. Awesome. That is awesome. Oh, well, like I said, Giants, buckle up because we got an amazing guest and Nick's going to introduce him. Ready, steady, spaghetti.
I am?
Yeah.
No,
he's like, I switched it up on you.
No, today we have a truly extraordinary guest with us. His name is Sachin Sharma. He's a dynamic CEO and founder of LAMRON Leadership. Known for his innovative approach, Sachin uses cinema and TV to help people break free from mediocrity and achieve extraordinary lives. His work with the LAMRON Intensive has made waves globally, transforming the concept of normal on its head. LAMRON, after all, is normal, spelled backwards. So Sachin is also a writer and producer of an upcoming animated series, adding yet another dimension to his impressive portfolio. So join me in welcoming the visionary leader and transformative coach, Sachin Sharma. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Super excited to be here.
It's good to have you. We love to dive into your journey, your philosophies, like where you came from, how you got to where you are. It might get a little irreverent sometimes, we'll just play with it. Wherever it goes, it goes. But our tendency is to explore your origin story of how you even started down this pathway and maybe even going backward to some ideal of who you thought you were prior to that awakening moment. And can you talk about your upbringing and who you thought you were?
Yeah, I love the way you're asking it, who you thought you were.
Yeah.
That's you just nailed it. So to tell my origin story, it doesn't start with me. It starts with my granddad. My granddad my dad's dad came from India to England in the late 60s or early 70s. And he came to the country and there was a lot of racism going on. So he wasn't allowed to rent a property. He wasn't allowed to start a business. Like there was just a lot of stuff going on. He had 7 jobs. No, sorry. He had 15 jobs at one time.
Holy crap.
So Monday to Sunday, no days off, doing anything and everything that he could to bring his family over from India. When my dad was the youngest of 9 siblings. So my dad basically learned the entrepreneurial ropes from my granddad, but he didn't want to. It wasn't like I'm going to start a business. My dad just wanted to play football and do drama. Like he wasn't really interested in this kind of stuff. And that's unheard of in our community. So we're North Indian, Punjabi. And my granddad was like, hey, look, you're not doing any of that stuff. Either you come to the restaurant.
No.
Yeah, exactly. It's either you come to the restaurant and you work hard there and you lift up big heavy pots and all of that, or you go to university and you study. You go learn about computers or whatever it is you're going to do. And the restaurant at the time, like my granddad eventually had a restaurant premises. He was doing his business from there, and he pushed my dad into education. So that's what my dad did with us, and it was me and my brother. And I don't think we were designed for the traditional education route. I hated school, man. I just, I couldn't pay attention. It, I felt like, and this is definitely a part of who I thought I was, I felt like I was too smart to be there. So I had like a very cocky attitude to school. And I always had an inner knowing that this stuff is not relevant for me. I don't need to be here.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't wear it. I didn't wear it particularly well. I think people could really tell that I thought that. Um, so my identity, who I thought I was growing up, was okay. We're Punjabi. Our people go to school, get educated, go to university, get a job, get a promotion, have kids, or get married, have kids. You maybe do a little bit other
A
stuff, and
lot,
then you die.
a lot of tradition in that, right? A lot of culture that gets passed down. So that's who you thought you should be, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's you fly under the radar. You don't make too
Uh-huh.
much noise. Never challenge what other people say you should be doing with your life, and that's basically it. There's a saying in our community. I don't know if you guys have heard this before, and I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just I've lived it, so I can say it. When you're Punjabi or Indian of many different varieties, South Asian, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, or a failure.
Huh.
And I was in the failure category. So, I went to university. I got a degree in biology. I only did it because my mom and dad were saying, "Hey, you should do this." And I don't think it was a bad idea. I learned a lot of good things about life from going to university. I was unemployed for like 9 months after I finished, and I just got a job in a bank because why not? I just wanted some money, and
There's so many people, just sorry to interrupt, but hold that thought. There's so many people that can relate to their culture upbringing, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Like as you're talking, it doesn't sound that much different to the culture that I grew up in my way, right? And so I'm sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, I felt all of that. I felt that pressure. I school and me, we didn't belong together either, but yet that was the expectation and different things religiously, economically. Uh, I felt all of these same pressures. So what you're saying is it's hitting, brother. So keep going.
yeah, I think there's not a single person I've said this to that doesn't relate in some kind of way because I just describing feelings that I think everyone's had at some point.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like after I finished university, actually, you know what? Let's go before that. So I go to university and I didn't really want to be there either. It's a similar sort of thing as school. Like I didn't understand the point of me being there. The only thing I really wanted to do was smoke marijuana and play video games. Really, like that's just what I wanted to do. And
Like 80% of young people here in the US are like, yeah.
yeah, it was literally like the only thing I felt that I was interested in. So when I first couple of months of university, I got into a relationship. It started off very casual, and I wanted to end it. So I said to the girl, "Hey, like this isn't working for me anymore. So I don't think we should see each other." And she said, "Hey, my dad's a police officer. If you don't do exactly as I say, I'm gonna tell him you did all these things to me." And I was scared. I was like 18 at the time, and I stayed in this like with this sword over my head kind of blackmail situation for almost 4 years. And it got so bad to the point where she was drugging me on a regular basis. And she would say to me, "The only way out of this is for you to kill yourself." And
Holy crap.
yeah, it got dark real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy
um,
cow. She's like held you hostage.
yeah, it was kind of like that. And she was using me for money. She was using me for company because I don't think people wanted to spend time with her unless they were using her for sex. So yeah, it got very dysfunctional very quickly. And I really thank God for this relationship because it taught me the value of peace of mind. It really did. This is the main thing that I'm glad I went to university for. I think it was designed for me. I wouldn't be awake to what it means to have peace of mind if it wasn't for this. You know, like every single minute of the day, there was something for me to be worried about when I was with her. So I had like this knot in my throat, in my chest, in my stomach.
Ugh.
My skin started going gray, and I was only like 18 to 21. So like this stuff just, and it got really bad. Like a lot of stuff happened during that time. Imagine any way that you can psychologically, physically, and sexually torture someone. That was going on for a long time. And
Dude, I think of the game of life, you know, and you spin the dial and you get up to this pivot point. It says, okay, you got some lessons to learn, one path or the other, right? So you could go to university, or I can get you this really rad girlfriend that will teach you some amazing things that you never thought you would learn, right? And you go down this pathway, and either way you're going to have learning, right? And man, some of these things, for you to say I'm grateful for what I learned while I was with her, uh, is really an opportunity for a lot of people to really look at the challenges that we face in life as learning opportunities, because you could have also become the victim of that and not learned a thing from it. You would have been a martyr to it, right?
yeah, I did for a long time.
Yeah. Can you speak to that a little bit and then continue?
Yeah, so you know, it's at the time I told a few people around me what was going on, and one of them said, "Punch her in the face and never talk to her again." Um, my dad told me a long time ago you should never hit women, so that was out of the question for me. And then someone else just called me some mean names and said, "You deserve it. If you can't stand up for yourself, you deserve for this stuff to happen."
Yeah,
So shut
wow.
up. And I just kind of thought that I deserved it, so I was being a victim of it for a long time. And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe God hates me."
Yeah,
You
maybe
know,
I'm unworthy. Maybe God does hate me, right?
yeah, because that was my philosophy at the time, being a very smart 20-something-year-old kid, was, yeah, you know what, this wouldn't be happening unless God hates me, so let's just go with that. And nihilism's like the easiest and the
You
laziest thing
always
to do.
search for a way to justify it, though, right? Is it's like to figure out why this is happening. I mean, I do it when something goes, like off in my life. I'm like, must be this, or I got maybe it's this, and you're trying to
Right.
reason with it in your head. So I get that.
And I think nihilism's the easiest way to go sometimes. It's like the thing that requires the least effort. You just being a
Mm.
Debbie
It
Downer, as I like to
it
call it.
really does, right? It just flows out.
Do they use that term globally, Debbie Downer?
I think so.
Okay,
Uh,
It might be an English thing.
that's awesome.
well, so speaking from that and hanging on to the thread as well that we've got here, because this is really useful stuff, is the idea that when life doesn't really go the way we planned and we start wondering about our value. I know in Susan Anderson's work, she talks about the shattering, the withdrawal, the internalization, the rage, and the lifting. You know, when there's abandonment or there's trauma in life, we shatter, we withdraw, we internalize. And it's in the internalizing where we really start to make ourselves wrong for whatever's happening in life. And then that nihilism kicks in. And in some weird way, it feels good to be down, you know, and they say the quickest way out of a negative emotion is to listen to sad songs, right? Because we can
Wow.
relate to them. And I think it's so easy to get into that space and then enroll others into that space, and they start to agree with us, and we're justified in staying where we're at. So there's no growth. So how did you navigate that? How did you come out of that?
I love what you said, by the way. I think this that is really important for people to understand. When you make yourself wrong for it, dude, like that's the only prison that you're gonna be in. One of my teachers early on, he spent 10 years in prison. He goes, after a certain point when he decided to change, he was no longer in prison. And during that time that I was with this person, like it was like I was in prison, and I didn't understand at the time. I was the one. I was the warden. I was the governor of the prison. I was the cellmate. I was all of it. It's quite funny to reflect on it like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm having memories of a poem that I wrote. I'll have to pull it back up and share it years ago about that. But keep going.
So yeah, I go through this period of time. Then the way it stopped is someone told me just ignore her. literally change the locks of your apartment, because she stole my key one time and made her own. And just get it, just ignore it. Anywhere you go, just completely ignore it. So it shut it down, which really proved to me that anything you feed is going to grow. And this person
Yeah.
just wanted for me to feed the seeds of fear. And that's what, like, just looking back on it, this is what's inspired me to, this is the basis of the animated series I'm writing and making. My producer asked me this the other day. He said, Sachin, what's the one thing that you're trying to get across here? And I said, if people change their relationship to fear, if we could have people challenge and really stop feeding their fears, the world would be a totally different place. That's what I
So
want to do.
so you're saying, like, it's okay to ignore fear. It's okay to not give attention to fear or doubt or insecurity or lack of belief, right? Because we think we got to feed it. If I don't pay attention to it, then, you know, it might get worse. And then in that giving attention, it does get worse, right?
I think sometimes
Yeah.
I get the impression that people think fear is a fire, and if I don't do something about it, it's going to burn my whole house down.
Mm.
But it's not. Fear is a box of matches. You can just leave it in the drawer.
That's a cool statement right there. Fear is a box of matches. Like, yeah, you don't have to light them.
No, you can just
But
leave them in the drawer.
we do so often. That's the hard part. It's like I like we just go and start striking matches. Boom, boom,
But not
boom.
just striking them, like lighting
Yeah,
them and then letting them burn down to the fingertips where they burn your
yeah, it
fingertips,
hurts,
right?
and
It's like,
we're pouring gas on them and a bunch
yeah.
of pyromaniacs.
Hey
So
man,
this, you know, creating the thread back, you know, to the idea of you're in this environment where this girl has really compromised your security. And even though that's going on, your freedom and your peace is still yours. Like, she can do whatever she can do. And it reminds me of Viktor Frankl's work, Man's Search for Meaning and Yes to Life, and you know, Edith Eger, and every one of them says that you are the master of the ship, no matter what's going on in your environment. Yet we succumb to our environments. We make ourselves the environment, whatever's going on, and we decide that that's who we are because of what's happening right now. Is that how you see it? And how do we, I'm more interested in when, you know, I guess when you get into a how question can be a fear question, because we often ask how questions when we're afraid. And in this, it's more of a process question of what steps could a person take, or what steps did you take to move, to transform that from what it was to what you are today?
yeah, I love the way you asked that, man. The how questions can be fear questions, because that's like, I made a massive pivot in my business recently, and I was just coming up with how everywhere, like how this, how that.
Yeah.
I love that, man. You rearrange the letters of how you get who, and
Uh,
that's the direction I started looking in. From I went to therapy. I didn't really find it helpful. And that thing about people buying into the story that like solidifies you were wronged, you were hurt, something's broken, you're not okay, you're not safe, and all of that stuff. I went to a therapist. I went to a couple different therapists, actually, maybe 4 or 5, and it was all saying the same thing. It was pointing me in the direction that something bad has happened, and I need to do something about it, because I'm
you're
now
like,
broken.
no shit. That's why
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, and I said to one of them, "Hey, look, can I cure what's wrong with me?" Start throwing labels at me like anxiety, fatigue-related anxiety, depression, bipolar, you
Hmm.
name it. They were throwing the labels. I didn't get diagnosed because I just didn't see the point in it. And I said to one of them, "Look, I didn't have these things at some point. Now I have them. I'm sure I can go back to not having them." And he said, "Oh, it doesn't work like that." I was like, maybe you don't understand the car that you're dealing with here, so I'll go to another mechanic. That's the way I just thought of it. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
that's right. So yeah, my process was, I went really deep into religion. I've always been interested in it, but I started actually giving it a chance instead of judging it like, oh, maybe these idiots don't know what they're talking about. I was
Yeah.
like, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. I can
let me
relate.
read it.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah. And I'm in
But
that
yeah,
journey now, you know, it's so, yeah, continue.
religion really brought me something great. So in 2015, I read the Quran. My family is not Muslim.
Yeah.
and our cultural beliefs are like Hindus, Sikhs on one side, Muslims on the other, and our
Yeah.
cultures are like this. Sometimes they have been, especially with like stuff that happened in the past. So anyway, I read it, and I just realized I've been very selfish,
Mm.
very selfish. Just me, 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 me. My life's all about me. And I believe that when your life is all about you, you're living a me-centric life, you get depressed very
Mm.
often. If not you, if not always. If your life's always just about you and it's all about you, how you feel, what you want to do, all of that stuff,
That
then
makes sense, right? Based on research, that makes sense because, you know, in Lisa Feldman Barrett's work, she says that when we don't live up to our own ideals, we feel depressed. And so it's these ideals that we have for who we think we should be, and it's me centric. And then when we don't live up to it, we are depressed because it is about us, right?
yeah, and you just an all-consuming black hole of I don't call it desire, like it's like just hedonistic treadmill. That's it. You're on the
Yeah.
treadmill, you're not going anywhere, but it feels like you're moving, and then you die.
You're like Eeyore. You're okay, and I'm calling me like Eeyore because I do this. I'm the sulking. Oh boy, you know, just sitting there on the treadmill, walking
What was
forever.
me?
Like my life sucks. I wish I could get off this treadmill. You know, and it's true, and it's really the transition is stepping off the treadmill.
It's like
Truthfully,
the, it's like the box of matches. You
yeah.
don't even have to ever light it.
Yeah, and also it's funny because in my situation, I had a lot of people buying into it. So I used to have the I call it like the window that I was looking at the world through
Hmm.
is no one understands. Oh, how oh, excuse me, how could you get it? How yeah, how could you
You
understand?
could drop some f bombs if you need. If
Uh,
that emphasizes,
sometimes
we're
I've
good.
heard from a
Like,
coach of mine that a well-timed F bomb is sometimes very poignant.
True. I just thought it was a little bit early for all that, but hey, you
Oh,
you
yeah, well,
you open Pandora's box. Here we go, lads.
here we go.
yeah,
Let's do it.
But yeah, like just thought people were buying into my situation. Like, yeah, yeah, like no one could understand that. You've been through so much. And anyway, I looked into religion, teaching me not to be selfish. All right, cool. And then I spoke to one of my first ever teachers, and he just said to me like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I after all of that, I started remembering when I stopped drinking alcohol before I wanted to get helped, and within like a couple of months, I started remembering growing up around people in my family who were abusing kids,
mm,
pedophiles and child molesters. And I was one of the kids who was being abused, but I didn't remember it until that point, which is weird. And I
holy
feel like God was giving me the pieces as I could handle them. So I couldn't have handled any of that when I was in the relationship. And that's why I was medicating with substances like alcohol. And then yeah, like as I started to remember this stuff, I'm like going crazy every day. Like, did this stuff happen? Oh my god! Anyway, I spoke to this teacher, and he was just like, "Okay, whether or not this stuff happened, I don't know, but did the sun come up the next day?" And
mm.
I was like, "Yes, I'm sure it did." And he said, "Okay, well, shut up then." And I didn't understand like what he was getting at. He didn't shout at me. He was like, well, "Shut up about it. Stop talking about it. Stop trying to relive it. Stop trying to gain something
Wow, holy crap.
from going through it again."
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand it. For like when we were having this conversation, he was just adamant. He was sitting there like, "No, I'm not interested in all of that." He said, I'm interested in where you want to go from here, but I'm not
Yeah.
interested in you like putting together some pieces of did this happen? What should I do about it?" And he said, "What if there's nothing to do?" And it
Oof.
was it was really tough for me to handle that back then. Like it was like you could say it was my first ever experience of someone holding up the mirror to me and calling me a whining baby. He didn't
Mm,
say it in those words, but he just said, "You're just complaining. And if you want to do
mm.
that, it's a great way to waste your life." And I sat there like, they didn't do this to me at therapy.
You know what we need to do is create a time machine where anytime somebody's struggling is we take them back to the 80s and we let them grow up in the 80s where it's like dust yourself off and let's go, right? Yeah.
There were
I,
elements of that.
Yeah.
yeah, I just recently had two coaches that are, at least in my view, are very powerful strong coaches. I put them on a high pedestal because I respect who they are and how they're being in the world. And both of them did that to me, Sachin. They was like they didn't do this in therapy, and but they called me out lovingly, but it was like a punch to the jugular type, like wake up, and I'm like, like I can't breathe. Like what is happening? And sometimes that's needed to have that jolt, that wake up. Talk about how creating an extraordinary life. You're gonna go through things in life. That's just a given. Sometimes it's absolute shit, and it sucks, and it's hard, not fun, lonely. I could go on and on and on because I've lived it too. But there's that moment where real love, like real somebody really loving you. I don't know who exactly did that to you, but that was like, that is pure. That's real love, to wake Sachin up to the stories you're telling yourself, and you're keeping yourself in that box. You're keeping yourself stuck on a loop, on that treadmill, lighting the matches over and over and over, and thinking you have to fix things. And I don't, man, as you just said that, it just really hit. Also because I've been getting on the treadmill lately, the real treadmill, because that was one of the areas in my life that I want to focus on is physical fitness, and but I've been hopping on the treadmill, metaphorically speaking, as well. And I'm sure others can relate to this. So finding somebody like that in your world that can really truly tell you the truth in a loving way, without, I mean, it's going to feel a little bit off and weird because it's new, it's different, it's not what everybody else is saying, and it's not what you heard in therapy, and you're like, cuddled up in the corner, right? It's beautiful, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was comfort eating like crazy at that time.
Yeah. Oh, oh yes, I've been there too.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on the treadmill now.
Yeah, man.
Dude, you got to have something. For me, it's video games or, a glass of wine or something, it's like it takes that edge off, but you still have to do the work, right? Like it's okay to take the edge off. I think this is one thing that therapy teaches is how to manage and tolerate difficult emotions, but you got to go beyond just tolerating and surviving emotions, because it's not enough to just learn that. We got to get beyond them. And so can you keep going down your process of healing that, of transforming it?
Yeah, so speaking about real love, the person who I spoke with at the time, he doesn't want to be identified ever by name or by face. Or he doesn't do it. He said to me, I don't do this, what I do, for that. I'm doing it for you specifically. And I don't want referrals. I don't want to. He just said, I'm supposed to be with who I'm supposed to be with, and I'll move on, and you will too. Which is, to me, was just like, holy crap. Like, that's, I just remember at the time thinking, that's so cool. But okay, so we had that conversation, and he said, if you want to continue looking down this road, great. If you don't, I can't really do much for you, and let that be that. But he just asked me, what would you want to do with your life? And he said, if money was no object, you don't have to work, you don't, whatever, what would you do? And I said the basic things first, like, oh, travel and, see the world and do this and do that. And I'd already seen a decent chunk of the world by that point. And he said, no. After all of that, what would you want to do? And I said, well, for the longest time, I've always loved video games, stories. I play video games for the stories mainly. I love TV shows, anime, music, and movies. Like this is my life. Like I love this stuff. And he said, well, just do that. And it didn't really register at the time, so I didn't really do anything with it. Kept going down this route though. So just looking in the direction of, okay, like if I'm not feeding that anymore, if I'm not trying to do something about that, if I'm not going to go to court and try and take these people to the legal system and all this stuff, what am I going to do? And that's when my brother stepped in, and my brother was like, stop whining, stop complaining. Here's some videos on entrepreneurship. And he introduced me to like Gary Vee, a bunch of personal development channels, like and he would sit next to me sometimes while I'm playing video games, and he would play these videos out loud, and I'll be like, oh man, I don't want to hear this stuff. And like sometimes he would leave his
You're
laptop in the
sleeping and
room.
he's like playing it in your ear. He's like leaning over, just playing it softly, whispering.
You're like,
He left.
I'm busy robbing a bank in GTA, man. Get off of this. I can't be positive while I'm doing this.
I know, right? I'm
Yeah.
there like, yeah. So he leaves this Gary V video on one day, and Gary V said this. He asked this question. Gary V's an online
Yeah.
marketing guru, for anyone who doesn't know.
He's really good at just being himself and saying it how it is. Yeah.
Yes. He
It's
asked
awesome.
this question, which really messed with me at the time. I still remember how I felt. I was trying to play a video game. I used to play this game called Destiny, where you'd be on it for hours and hours and hours.
Oh, yeah.
Um, anyway, we're at a loading screen, and Gary V goes something to the effect of, "Hey, man, if there's people being paid millions of dollars to unbox toys on YouTube, what makes you think you can't do something you love and make 60 grand a year doing it? Like, shut up, get out of your head, get out of whoever you're talking to, and look at the real world. That is actually happening. People are getting toys, opening them up, putting them on camera, and sometimes not even saying anything. And they're paying millions of dollars every year to do it. What makes you think you can't?" And I sat there like, oh my God, like I've been told you just get a job and shut up. I'm like, what the hell? And then he said something to the effect of like, you got to get rid of all the negativity in your life. So I had this massive Indian family at the time, right? We had like 100 first cousins because my dad's got 8 siblings and my mom's got 2 siblings, and they've all got kids, and their kids have got whatever, right? So a big part of my life was obligation based. And I started to go through this process of defining what I want the world to mean, what the things in the world to mean for me. So, what is time? What is family? What is money? What is wealth? What is it? Just started defining these things. Because you can't really play a game unless the game has rules and definitions. So if you look at like Monopoly, for example, if you just go around doing whatever you want, that's when people start flipping the board over.
Yeah.
You got to have some kind of structure to it. So I started to change the definitions that I had for things. And the first one was family. So this is, I'm sure this isn't specific to me, but in the family that we were a part of, there was a lot of competition. There was a lot of not so nice behavior, especially with the stuff that was happening when we were kids. We just grew up in a very competitive environment, and it wasn't very nice. So I just said, okay, from now on, family is not if you share DNA with me, because I share DNA with everyone in the world. It's also not if you have the same surname as me, because that's not even our real surname. Someone came to England, they couldn't pronounce what our name was, so they gave us this name. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's no longer the thing. Family is defined by loyalty, not by blood. All right. So if you want what's best for me, and if you're in rooms where my name's being spoken and you speak good of it, all right, cool. That's a better definition of family. So I just stopped talking to 99% of the people in my life. And this really turned the corner on the healing journey as well, because I was no longer under any more obligations. And my mom and dad hated it at the time. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm glad too. Thank you. We got a great family, by the way. We're
That's
the
amazing.
ultimate coach family.
Yeah.
So many people I've been meeting over the years. Like, this family really supports and nurtures each other, which I love. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted from friends and family at the time.
Yeah. I've got a thought here. I want to interject, and I think it ties in because you look at your upbringing, you look at your culture, your own experiences, these become the conditions of your success. So you have this ideal from your family. We go to work, we get a job, we're employed, we go into one of these 5 categories. One of those could be failure. But if you don't do that, then you are a failure because you're not following what you were taught. And then that becomes your belief system. So it's what you hold on to. And, when you step into something new, I've been sitting with the thought around belief systems and how what you believe in really affects your conditions of your life. So what you condition as necessary for your success. So I need this to happen for this to happen for this to happen, right? I need to work to create money. So that becomes the condition of my life. And so inside of our belief systems, when we do something new, that it raises doubt, right? It's because I've never been here before. I'm going to have some doubts over this new thing that I'm doing because I've never done this before. And then we think doubt is killing our beliefs, and therefore we can't succeed because of our doubts. And there's a quote that I want to pull into this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. It's Anne Lamott, Lamott, and she says that certainty is the opposite of faith, not doubt. Like when you look at trust and stepping into the unknown, doubt is it's a facet of trust and faith. But certainty is the opposite of that, which is so mind-blowing to me, because you would think that the opposite of faith would be doubt. And I'd love to hear what that brings up for you and how you navigated creating a new belief system and letting go of these conditions. Because like you said, you could be unboxing toys and people make millions doing that, right? And somebody with a belief system that says, no, you can't do that, that would get in the way. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. It's so part of one of my gifts is I see messages. I'll just say it the way I see it. I see how God is directing me in movies and in any story that's being told, basically, sometimes in commercials. You'll see me like with my phone, like, oh my God. So there's a clip in the Matrix. It's called the jump sequence or the jump program. Morpheus and Neo are standing on one building rooftop, and Morpheus says to Neo, you have to let it all go, Neo. Free your mind. Let fear, doubt, and disbelief go. And he runs from one to the edge of the building, jumps, and lands on the other building opposite them, onto the rooftop. And Neo looks at him, he's like, oh my God, how did he do that? Morpheus just did something extraordinary. He gave him the template for how to do it, and then Neo fails at doing it. But the thing that he says to him is, you have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Okay, so what I take that to mean is, what's fear? Fear sounds like what if. Faith sounds like even if. Okay. What's doubt? Doubt sounds like, can I do it? Am I worthy? Disbelief is, yeah, sure, someone like me could do all of that. Yeah. If you let that stuff go, if you never fed it, if you never gave it any airtime, you didn't try and work on it, you just let it go, you left it alone, you freed yourself from it, then you'd be capable of these extraordinary things, because you'd only be left with feeding the opposite of fear, doubt, and disbelief: faith, certainties, and your beliefs. The things that you want to play with, the things that you'll be feeding, they're not totally different. So to me, I love the story. I don't remember exactly the wording in the Bible. There's a story where there's a lady, she's very sick. I think one of the sicknesses she had was blindness. And she hears that Christ is coming to town and he's walking around, and she's like, okay, I've heard that if you touch his cloak, you're good, like you get healed. So she's like, this motivates her to try and find out where he is, and she's blind, so it's hard, right? She like scrapes her knee, she's like falling all over the place trying to find him. And then she hears there's a crowd, she goes into the crowd and she grabs onto the cloak, and she can see, and her illnesses start to disappear. And she's like, oh my God, like Christ healed me. He turns around, he's like, I didn't heal you, it was your faith that healed you. And the language that we might use for that today is your belief healed you. And I think that
I think in Hebrew it was your trust, right? The definition of trust is a confident expectation.
Which goes to your even if statement versus what if on doubt and fear.
That to me is like, if there was a plant called even if, like maybe this is something people want to do, right? Put a plant on your desk.
Start taking the what if plant and playing video games.
Yeah.
If your whole garden is full of what ifs and you stop feeding them, they'll die. If you only watered and fed your even if plant, it would grow so strong.
It's not about stopping doubt. It's about letting it go. Like, and literally that means just let it go on its path. You don't have to get on that same path, but it's not about stopping it from being there, because as humans, I think doubts will come up. I shared an article the other day in my 12 journeys about bungee jumping. When I was 18 years old, I was working at a furniture store, and this company comes in and they said, "Hey, we set up a crane out here. Anybody want to go bungee jump for free?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 18." And so I go out there, and they put the bungee cords on me, and they have a piece of carpet that I'm standing on over the asphalt, and they raise me up in this crane, probably 100 feet off the ground, and my heart is pounding. And I know there's the only way out is for them to lower me down, which would be devastating, right? Or for me to jump. And I'm sitting there trusting, and this is in a time when the news is saying, people are hitting the concrete. We got to do some safety things. And I'm feeling confident I can do this. And I also doubt that I can do this. I don't know if this is going to work, because if it goes wrong, I'm hitting that concrete on a piece of carpet. All that's going to do is absorb the blood. That's it. Not going to protect me. So I close my eyes and I swan dive off of this platform, off of a perfectly good cage and crane. And I open my eyes midway down, and everything engages, right? The cord catches and it pulls me back up. And there's this exhilaration and this relief. But I had my doubts, and it's like my doubts didn't stop that cord from catching, but they were definitely present. And even if they were present, I still jumped. And I think that ties in. It's like there's a point that even if your fears are present, or your concerns are present, your doubts are there, you still have to go to the even if and take the leap. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's the sign that you're going in the right direction. When you get lost in the Super Mario video game,
Yeah.
All you got to do is look for where the enemies are. Like, oh, those little things that walk around, or the thing with the shell. Oh, that shows me I'm going in the right direction. It's the same with doubt. Like, the best way to avoid doubt and criticism and all of that stuff is to say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. Then you're good. You ain't gonna get no doubts. You just sit around. That was a big part of my awakening understanding of healing, was not just this is the surefire way. Because there was a friend of mine at the time who I used to go to school with, and I saw him one day. I was on my way to Comic-Con, and I saw him at the train station, and we started chatting, and then we started hanging out. And he said, "Yeah, I'm on antidepressants and this and that." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, that's just what you do. You got an issue, you take some medication to fix it." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "What are you doing about what's going on with you?" And I said, I believe the opposite. Like, this stuff is teaching me something. Hey, your car is breaking down. You don't need a new exhaust. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't need to you don't need to ignore it. You can not have that problem again. And
it would be akin to, like, my engine is ticking. I'm going to go buy headphones so I don't have to hear it.
That's not what you do,
right?
You don't turn the radio up.
Yeah,
which is funny, because I had a buddy the other day
no
that
more problems, man.
he had his check engine light on, and he just kept resetting the code.
Or you put a Sharpie over it.
Just cover up the light with a sticker.
Yeah, Sharpie that shit. I don't have engine problems.
That's hilarious. The car analogies are not my favorite. I've only just recently started getting into cars. I'm gonna be buying my first supercar at the end of the year, and before that, like, I just had no idea about anything with cars. Right? Yeah, that's kind of what, like, me and him stopped hanging out very quickly because our ideas just didn't mix. So to take this leap, any leaps of faith, at the time, I didn't believe in having an extraordinary life. I didn't think it was for me, considering my upbringing, considering everyone around me. I knew some people who lived a really extraordinary life. I just thought they got lucky. Like, oh yeah, your mom and dad will let you do stuff like that. Oh, you were born into money, so yeah, okay. Like, I just made these assumptions, and I made up these stories that supported how I saw the world, and no one challenged them because everyone else around me was kind of just stuck doing the same thing. And when I started listening to more of Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, that's what really started challenging me to look outside of what I think is reasonably possible. And then when I hired my first coach, so I found out about coaching because My brother could see I was on this big transition. He could see I was waking up. He said, "Why don't you just share some of this stuff on Tumblr?" Tumblr is a blog website for anyone who doesn't know. And I just started sharing like 200-300 words a day from what I was learning about like myself, from not drinking, doing a lot of meditation and yoga, started to go to jujitsu. I started learning a lot about me, and my life started really changing a lot. The way I was seeing the world, my anxiety, the depression I was experiencing, it started to go away. And I was really excited about it. So I started sharing it every day. And, 5-6 months go by, no one's commenting or anything, but just out of the blue, someone asked me, are you a life coach? And I didn't even know what it was. So I just Googled it, found a course that teaches you how to coach people, gives you some basics, foundational stuff. And I thought, okay, let me try it out. So I pay for the course, I take it, and I coached 100 people in 6 months, and it was for free. And hey, Steve, uh,
hey,
it
this
was
is the coach too that told me that a well-timed F word is sometimes needed. So.
Oh yeah, he's good at those.
That's why he said triple F.
That's because that's all we talked about: farts, fractals, and the F word.
Yeah.
Triple
We've gotten a little more dynamic over the years, but we still keep one of those, just in the holster if needed.
Is there ready to go if you need to call on
Yeah.
it?
Bang bang. I got a whole clip load over here somewhere.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I'd do this
100
course.
people in 6 months.
I had a commitment to myself to see. I didn't want this to be another thing that I try out for a bit and hopefully, like, if I like it, I'll continue. I was like, dude, I'm gonna be working with people's lives. If this is a serious thing for me, let me take it seriously. So I did this. This is something I believe in. Like, if you want to be good at something, or if you want to see if it's for you, do it a bunch of times. So I was like, okay, 100 sounds good. Coached 100 people in a very quick, very small period of time, alongside working this job that I was working at the time. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And the way that I was able to be with people in this setting just felt really natural and easy to me. And I had a bunch of those people ask me, "Can I pay you to do this?" So they ended up becoming my first clients. And I hired my first coach not long after that. It was like 2018. And he just said something interesting to me. He goes, "What's a dream that you have?" And he's not talking about far away thing, just like, what's something you want to do in the next year? I said, "Man, I really want to go to Japan." He goes, "Right, book the ticket right now." And I'm sitting at my computer like, you can't just do that stuff. Like, you need money. And what if I can't like sustain myself while I'm there? Like, this is a big deal to me. And he's like, "No, book the ticket." So I booked the ticket. And then he goes, "Okay, if you don't have the money to be there while you're there, then don't go. But just, you've booked the ticket, so you're going. Now, treat life as though you're going. Book the time off in your calendar, all of this stuff." And I was sitting there like, okay. Anyway, I ended up going, and I was there for a month, which was a big deal to me. I love Japanese food and all this stuff. And it taught me something like, oh, you can just live into something. You can just, it's not illegal. No one's going to come and shut you down. Like, hey, stop doing that. And this is what formed the basis of me just expanding vision and really going for an extraordinary life. And I had to define what that was for myself. And it's just one of the big turning points. Start defining what the extraordinary life is and live into it as though it's guaranteed to happen. Kind of like that scene from Indiana Jones. You have to step before the path appears.
Yeah.
And that's formed the basis of everything I'm doing.
This ties in so perfectly to our 12 journeys, that we do. The first roots that we stuck on this morning are around the root journeys of non-consciousness and who you think you are, and waking up to that, navigating the emotions, and accepting your life as it is and as it has been without resigning to it, and gratitude and empowerment, right? Getting yourself elevated. And then the next steps are all about envisioning and stepping into the unknown, taking that first blind step onto that bridge that you can't see until you step on it. That stepping into the uncertainty is where you may have doubts when you take that first step, but that doesn't keep you from your vision or dream. and then having the vision of where you're going and then speaking that vision as a reality before it is. So booking that ticket, had that experience with the Puerto Vallarta trip. It was, I just wrote it, and then somebody bought a ticket, and then I went there without a hotel, and somebody gave me a place to stay. Like, it was beautiful. It all played out perfectly. Couldn't have been better. But it takes that surrender of letting go of, instead of saying this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen for my vision to become a reality, what you're doing is you're stepping into the reality of receiving it before it's even a thing and letting it play out the way it needs to play out. Is that how you experience it?
I would say yes, and there's different languaging I've got for it, but this is where I have to talk about what happened with Steve Hardison. You know, it was a big goal of mine from 2017, from the time that I read The Prosperous Coach, and I read that book inside out, back to front. It's like it was written on my eyelids. You know, every time I closed my eyes, I could see bits of it. It was like the guiding principle for me. And they kept talking about Steve Hardison in the book a few times, and I said, yeah, I want to work with him. It took me like last year, 2023, from October to March, I had weekly coaching sessions with Steve. So I moved over to Arizona, and every week we would have coaching sessions. And for the first 8 weeks, 9 weeks, oh my God, it's like I was getting ground down into a thin paste and spread over my own BS that I was telling myself. It was so difficult, man. A bunch of times I walked into the office and I'd just sit there like this, and Steve would be like, "You're right. How you doing?" And I'd be like, "I don't want to talk about it." It was really tough in the beginning, and something that he said to me was just like, I called him one day and I said, "I'm really struggling. I'm having a hard time." And he said, "Just be okay with where you're at. Be okay with what you're getting. Stop trying to get more than you're getting. Just be okay with where you're at. Stop giving yourself a hard time for it." Is in essence what I learned from what he was saying. As I started to give myself that grace, ooh, good Lord. That was like so it was like nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. I get to that point and it's like I started to get it. And when I say get it, it was Steve was creating ways for me to see into, I call it like having a window into future me, and grab onto his ways of conducting himself. What does he believe about the world, himself, and other people, and start bringing that into me right now. How would I conduct myself? And it comes back to an old law of attraction principle I heard of, which is called acting as if. And this is the thing with buying the first supercar. I didn't have anywhere close to the money to even think about buying it 6 months ago. I was like, yeah, I want to start having a look. And I started going to the showrooms. I started talking to the people who have them, and it was like a way of pulling it in. What does future Sachin, who wants to buy this car, what does he do? How does he conduct himself? What does he go? How, when he goes to the showroom, is he standing there like, well, I don't think you'd want to talk to me because he doesn't do that. He's just rolling. Oh yeah, this sounds fun. Let's go. And I think that this is a very important piece of, if you want to have a really extraordinary life by your own definition, if you want to have an extraordinary business, an extraordinary physique, whatever it is conducting yourself as the person, you, not some random person, as the version of you who's already done it and is living it right now. What does he say yes and no to? Why are his yeses and nos so easy? What are his commitments? What is it that is driving these commitments forward? It's not, for me, these aren't like gaining commitments. It's not some gain that I'm going to make that has me doing all this stuff. It's a giving commitment. And that's my girlfriend asked me this.
I hear in that, a lot of us, what we do is we try and create our future from where we are right now. And it feels like a tether. Like you start stretching toward that future, and then your current self pulls you back into it. Whereas the alternative here is to envision what that future self is doing and have that come to you or pull you to it, right? Like, rather than you trying to stretch to it, it's pulling you into it. Is that kind of the idea there? And maybe there's some clarification around that.
Yes, I would say, the way I would say it is, I love the idea of it. It's like it's pulling you into it. It's what am I feeding? If I keep feeding where I'm currently at, then it's a
Keep
it's a
getting that.
sticky place. Yeah,
Yeah, it's sticky. That's a good word for it, right?
you're gonna stay there. Like I don't know if I'm not too hot on cleaning, but when let's say I've spilt some orange juice or I've spilt something, and my cleaner's not coming for the next couple of days or whatever, I've got something I'm gonna clean up. Now, if I leave it there, it gets sticky. I keep
Mm,
touching it. It's my hand's gonna get stuck to it and all of that, right? Um, what I have to do instead is clean up the messes before my area is no longer sticky. And this is a big thing I learned from Steve. He said to me, if you want to be a more kind person, what's a great way to start? And
Be kind.
you could start being kind right now. And there's also go back to places you haven't been kind and clean it up. And
mm,
so this is a big turning point for me. Um, I wanted to I wanted to clean up my life in romantic relationships. And I said to him, like, dude, I've got it all. I got everything I could ever ask for, except this one area of my life is sticky. Because there was a lot of mess that I hadn't cleaned up. And the therapy and all of this other stuff had told me, yeah, it's going to be hard for you to trust and all of that. Instead, what I just started, instead of like trying to give that airtime, I just went back and started I call it uninstalling the old operating system and installing the new one. So the old operating system was I keep women at arm's distance because I don't want to get hurt, right?
mm,
The new operating system is I'm a loving and I'm a powerful, loving father and husband.
mm,
Extraordinary. The way I can love a woman is extraordinary. It's so extraordinary. It allows her to relax into her divine feminine. She's not on guard like, oh my God, what's he going to do?
mm,
So I go back to someone who I had met previously and I said, hey, the last time we met, I'm sorry, I was just trying to get into your pants. I'm sorry I disrespected you as a person. And it's not who I am anymore. I hope you can forgive me. She really thanked me for it. She hugged me. She told me it was like I'd set her free from something.
mm.
And she didn't even know what it was, but she just felt like something had left her when I said that. And I felt it too. This is where that I like had an exponential leap into my new operating system. So if that's I want to be an 8-figure entrepreneur, if that's I look like I was carved out of rock. That's my physique, or I'm a I'm having the most amazing relationships I've ever had. If those are the things that I want, I can uninstall the old operating system of what I've had and install the new one of where I'm headed. To me, this has been like the fastest way to create results.
Yeah, wow. That's beautiful. What impact, if you look at the impact that you want to make in the world? So there's the healing of your life, the cleaning up of your life, the reprogramming, there's the envisioning of what you want to create and learning how to create in this reality. And then there's the impact. There's the fruit of your labors, the efforts. Steve Chandler talks about, not waiting for your legacy until you die, leave a living legacy, right? And so when we look at impact and the ripple effect, we used to have this grandiose vision of, let's go impact 100 million lives globally. We would say that in the show. Coming back from the ultimate experience in Birmingham, it shifted after a conversation with Caroline Hughes. It became, let's impact one person by 1%, and so that's our impact. So for you, what is your vision, your legacy that you want to create while you're here and maybe when you're gone?
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with a few things. People, definitely, dogs, and anime, like animated series. When I
Yeah.
was younger, something that got me through that really difficult time that I told you about was watching this anime. It's called Naruto. It's about a belligerent young kid who wants to be a ninja, and I'm sure some of you know.
My kids would watch that. Yeah. Yep.
So the guy who made Naruto, his name's Kishimoto-san. He gave me a gift of having something to look forward to every week, and also having something that was
Mm.
dedicated to personal development without even bloody realizing it. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know what personal development was when I started watching Naruto. But he gave me a gift through that. It's the reason I'm alive today. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Naruto. I would have killed myself a long time ago during
Oh,
that time. So look at all the epic stuff I'm doing in the world because of Naruto saving my life. All right, cool. So a big thing that I'm here for is to pass it on, do that great thing for other people all over the world. My animated series is dedicated to changing people's relationship with what goes through their head. with fear, with anxiety, with depression, with substance abuse, any of these things, my animated series, just by watching it, you will challenge ideas that you've had about yourself for your whole life, and it will set you free if you're looking for that. And if you're not,
Yeah.
it will be a very entertaining show.
Yeah. I like that. I like
That's
that.
one of
So that's the impact.
That's one of them. I've got things
Yeah.
in tandem with that. So I love business. It's the ultimate video game. I've been
Mm.
obsessed with video games since before I could talk. It was like the one thing in my life that I just felt like will never leave me. So I'm currently playing Pokemon on the Switch. I'm having such a great time with it. It's the same thing as what I do in my business every day. In Pokemon, oh, this is amazing, right? Anyone who's playing Pokemon Yellow, Gold, Red, all of that, all of those ones, yeah, just think about it. In Pokemon, you have to walk around the world talking to people.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of them you have trainer battles with, and if you win money. But the only way you can win those trainer battles is if you raise your Pokemon well and you actually like pay time and attention into them and they grow and you nurture their growth process. What does that sound like? Oh, it sounds like building a company, making sure your people are growing and you're nurturing them and having a good company culture, and then going out into the marketplace competing. You're going to win some money, you're going to lose some money. And I look at it like, okay, entrepreneurship is great. It's a really fun video game. What good can we do for the planet with entrepreneurship? So my worldwide sensation, the LAMRON Intensive, I'm doing another one in New York at the end of next month, from the 19th to the 21st of July. That's been really fun. And I've had so much fun just making an epic impact with it. I mentioned earlier, I've made a massive pivot in my business. The next project we're working on is called Phantom 41. It's the elite international secret society for successful male entrepreneurs. What I'm going to be doing with this is it feeds my main goal of impact, which is ending child sex trafficking.
Mm.
I need to be, look, man, if you got a massive worldwide cause, you can do some impact with $5. You can make way more of an impact with 500 billion. If I pull together the most successful people in the world, the only three things we're focusing on in Phantom 41 is health, wealth, and relationships for men. And that's it. I'm not touching any other subjects. And that encompasses a lot of things under that umbrella. My aim with this, my commitment to it, is impacting these successful entrepreneurs at such a deep level that some people will come up to me and be like, Sachin, you're giving me an epic relationship with my son who previously didn't want to know me because I was ignoring him. Is there anything I can do for you? I say, yeah. Why don't you give Operation Underground Railroad some money for the rehabilitation of kids who they've saved? Or why don't we all go and save 10,000 kids this year from child sex trafficking? And we keep rinsing and repeating that. We do it over and over again. Our vision now has capital velocity. So it will make it happen way faster, because I don't want any kids to go through what happened to me when I was young. And that's like the final boss of the video game, you could call it. But all of the training you do up until that point, it makes it possible. And I don't think there's going to be a final boss. Maybe we don't end it in my lifetime, but just setting out the path for other people who say, hey, that's fucked up in the world. I want to do something about that. Sachin's done this. He died 100 years ago. All right, cool. Like, he left all of these bits and pieces for us to pick up on. Let's go and take that forward. So the animated series, the business goals, like, they all tie together. So I'm heading in one direction with it. And I really that's like longer term. My girlfriend asked me this question yesterday. She said, what were you talking to the ice cream lady about? We went to get ice cream. I'm in kind of Hollywood at the moment. It was crazy busy at the time. I was like, just mad. I found myself talking to the person behind the counter, as I do anywhere I go. I'll talk to people. And I said, dude, imagine what she's been through today. Yeah, she's basically invisible. She's the ice cream chick. Like, shut up and give me my ice cream is probably the attitude most people have towards her. To them, she's invisible. You're just a barrier between me and shoving this in my face. So I want to make sure that she feels like she's been seen for at least a couple minutes. How are you? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Thanks for asking. How's your day going? Oh, can't complain. It's been very busy today. Okay. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Like having a conversation with her. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day. like looking at her in the face, having a dialogue with her that's actually back and forth, not just yeah, shut up, in my ice cream. And
Yeah.
I said to my girlfriend, like, to me, that's one of the most sacred things I can do. That's living a legacy right now. That's what my granddad was all about. My granddad was all about people and making the world a better place by how you treat people. And this ties in, these three things is really what I'm dedicated to every single day. Be very intentional with where I'm investing my time. And I don't mean like, in a business context all the time. Sure, yeah, that's going to be a part of it. I've got meetings today, and that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's deeper than that, and it's also not deeper than that. It's a
Mm.
weird little paradox. I love the power of paradox myself. But any person that I speak with, have they actually received my 100% attention? And I'm not perfect. There's times I've spent time with my girlfriend and she said something. I'm not really hearing her.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm the only one living in that boat.
You are. Yeah. None of us do that. Never, not once. Yeah.
All of us
That's
are
really
like,
Yeah.
that's really important to me, man. Just giving people
Yeah.
the quality of that time.
I think it's beautiful. As we wrap up here, any final thoughts? Anything that you need to share that hasn't been shared today?
The number one key to living an extraordinary life is this, in my opinion, and from my lived experience. I went from my mom and dad were concerned about me because I couldn't hold down a job. I just wanted to smoke marijuana and play video games, and I
Yeah.
wasn't really doing much with my life. From that to I had the first six-figure month in my business recently, and we're on track to hit all the business goals, and I'm living really extraordinary. I'm in California, Hollywood right now. I'm making all of my dreams come true
Mm.
with my animated series, with the business. I've hit all of the goals that I set out for myself. Every time I hit a business goal or any goal, a physique goal, I just think, wow, I'm playing kind of small. I should probably, expand the vision a bit. The number one key to unlocking your extraordinary life after you've defined it is
Mm.
just stop feeding anything else. Get rid of it. You stop feeding anything and everything that is in direct contradiction to it. So
Oof.
if you're
Wow.
gonna, let's say you're gonna make pancakes tomorrow
Yep.
or today, right? If you keep talking about broccoli and like water and maybe some other fun vegetables,
Yeah.
pancakes become extremely unlikely. But the more if I'm exclusively focused on that stack of pancakes, and I love American pancakes, they're way better than English ones. As soon as if that's the only thing I'm talking about and focused on, it's happening. And I see this time and time again. Like recently, I went at a luxury car show, and I talked to a bunch of people. I met a country music singer, and he was wearing a Silver Surfer T-shirt. Silver Surfer is my favorite Marvel character because the story is so deep. Anyway, he says something. We just start chatting, and we exchange phone numbers. He goes, "You're the first person I've given my real phone number to today." And we
Huh.
chatted for a bit. And we walked off, and my girlfriend and I were talking about it. And I said, "Yeah, because I'm not feeding any of the ideas of how do I create leads for our business here. I'm not doing any of that. All I'm doing is having a good time with people." We talked about Silver Surfer, the Marvel character. I didn't talk to him about what do you do and all that. He started telling me afterwards. All right, cool. And I just look at this as this is the focus. Living an extraordinary life is not put off to some point in the
Yeah.
future.
Wow.
It's you don't when and then it. It's not when I've done and had these things, then I'll have it. You can have it all and you can have it now. It starts right now. That's the key. It's not somewhere else. It's right here.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful. I gotta soak this all in. This is beautiful. Just take it in. Ryan, any final thoughts?
as you were talking about Gary V and having people that Tony Robbins and the people in your worlds, the Steve Hardisons, they almost take you through. Like I was thinking about the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's like the two realities, and they're existing simultaneously. It's just that point where somebody gives you an idea of the possibilities that can exist for you and the way that you're playing and the way that you're seeing the world, and they're like, it's right there, it's like right through the wardrobe, like you just step into it, just see, and you took that leap of faith and you stepped into it and you open your eyes and you're in Narnia of sorts, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
whoa, You know, like the Black Panther, right? Like in that show too, like it's there. Some people can't see it. It's there. You just start believing in you and all the possibilities that exist. I love the this whole thing. I'm going to go back and re-listen to this again. There's so much you know, you hear it in the coaching world. You hear it in you know, and all the clips that all the coaches talk about. There's so much gold here. This is true.
Yeah,
It's truth. It's not just gold. It's truth. When you can start hearing and feeling the truth and seeing the truth, you'll start recognizing it everywhere that it's being said. You'll start seeing what is not truth and going, that's not right. That's not how I want to play anymore. That's not for me. It's the separation, right? For the family that's not supporting you anymore. In the, you know, that's just your DNA now.
yeah, and
It's yeah. Say what you're gonna say, please.
this stuff is tangible. I used all of everything you're saying. Dude, last year I had my first kickboxing fight. Before that, I was not trained in martial arts. Okay, in 4 months, I went from kind of out of shape and out of breath after the stairs and smoking ganja to I'm fight ready, and people hate fighting with me because I'll never get tired. Like in my gym, every time I would spar with people, they'd be like, "Oh God, not you again," because I don't get tired. I'm like literally your worst nightmare. It's not that I'm tough and you could punch me and I'll never stop. It's that I just moving around you constantly. I had my first fight, and within 4 months, I got ready. My trainer said to me, I've never seen anyone do this as quickly as you. And I hear that a lot with language. I pick it up real quick. Everything that you're saying is related to tangible things. It's not like an out there spiritual fantasy. It's like it's really
It's
you
right
feel it.
here.
Yeah. And
All you have
I
to do is take it and do it.
couldn't have said it better myself, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you. Yep. For those that are watching too, thank you, Sachin. This was phenomenal. If this was the only show that people got to watch ever out of our 280 episodes so far, they could stop right here and have everything they need for a great life. Right here. It's all right here. And so I'd invite, you know, you that are watching, share this with somebody that you know that could use this message right now, and really go back and watch this for you and listen for you what Sachin just shared, because this is relevant to me right now. This is relevant to you, and this is likely relevant to somebody you know. So like we always say, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're right on time. You're doing what you need to be doing. Keep stepping. Don't quit. They say that perseverance is the blessing of suffering. So go persevere. We love you. Go make it a giant day. We'll see you in the next video.
Love you too.